Ancient Epic. The Examination of Alexander the Great, Expanded Edition. Topic. Was Alexander the Great truly a genius? Analyzing the decisive levers of his success. One man conquered 3.000 miles from Greece to the borders of India. In just 10 years, he never knew defeat on the battlefield. Historians and contemporaries revered him as Alexander the Great, a demigod, the son of Zeus. But was his career truly the result of a singular, unrepeatable personal genius? Or was he simply the perfect beneficiary of a meticulously crafted war machine built by his father, Philip II, and fortunate enough to exploit the decline of the Persian Empire? We will not recount the victories. We will investigate Alexander through three lenses: technology, psychological strategy, and political resources. We will dissect the moments where his success might have been nothing more than a desperate gamble. The goal is to find what truly made Alexander great, him or the Macedonian machine? If you want to separate legend from historical truth and deeply analyze the military strategies that changed the world, hit subscribe and turn on notifications immediately. The Ancient Epic community is the place for true historical investigators. Let's evaluate the most controversial general of the ancient world. Setting the context. The inheritor of a nightmare. Alexander was not the founder. He was the inheritor. He inherited a kingdom of Macedon already solidified by his father, King Philip II. Philip was not just a skilled tactician. He was a reformer who laid the groundwork for the conquest. By the time Alexander ascended the throne, the goal of conquering Persia was already the national dream of the Macedonians and a strategic plan already drawn up by Philip. Alexander did not create the vision. He inherited it and executed it with lightning speed. Part 1. The military inheritance, the perfect technological machine. Philip II and the military revolution. Before Philip, Greek warfare relied on the hoplite phalanx, heavy infantry with round shields and short spears. Philip realized that to dominate, he needed a more mobile force with greater penetration power. The core weapon, the sarissa. This pike, ranging from 13 to 20 feet long, was the game-changing technology. In the Macedonian phalanx formation, the sarissa created an impenetrable wall of steel spikes, rendering the traditional hoplite phalanx completely obsolete. In-depth tactical analysis. The sarissa allowed Macedonian soldiers to control space, while Persian soldiers could only utilize weapons in the front rank. Macedonian soldiers could utilize the force of 5 ranks of pikes simultaneously. This transformed the phalanx into an ancient infantry tank. Alexander merely exploited this technological advantage. The professionalism of the army. Philip created a professional, salaried army, not a citizen militia, like Athens. Infantry. The pesheteroi, foot companions, were trained with iron discipline, serving as the static anchor. Cavalry. The heteroi, companion cavalry, were the best equipped and most elite, serving as the mobile drill. This combination created a perfect two-part system, holding the line, phalanx, and breaking through, cavalry. Alexander stepped onto the stage with a war machine that was perfectly lubricated. Part 2. Alexander and psychological strategy. Speed as a demigod. Genius transcending technology. If Philip provided the technology, Alexander provided the psychology. Alexander's personal strategy was a mix of extraordinary speed and the willingness to risk his life. 1. Speed. Speed, speed. Alexander wasted no time. He marched at a dizzying pace, preventing Persian generals from ever having enough time to fully assemble their defenses. This speed was a psychological weapon that broke the enemy's will before the battle even began. 2. The technical siege breaker. In technical sieges, Alexander displayed both ruthlessness and engineering talent. The siege of Tyre, faced with Tyre, an impregnable island city. Instead of giving up, Alexander built a massive, mile-long causeway to reach and eventually destroy the city. This was a victory of will over geography. 3. Gaugamela, the reckless gamble. Alexander faced Darius III with a vastly superior army. Alexander's victory at Gaugamela was not a purely scientific technical victory. It was a victory of personal psychology. The lure. Alexander drew the Persian cavalry out by moving to the right. He accepted the risk of being outflanked. The decisive moment. Upon seeing a small, fatal gap appear in the Persian formation, Alexander did not send others. He personally led the charge. Precise targeting. He did not strike the strong flanks, but drove straight at the command center where Darius III stood. This action was based on a deep understanding of the Persian power structure. The emperor is the center of everything. When Darius III fled, the Persian army, despite still dominating in many areas, spiritually disintegrated. Alexander gambled everything on a single personal action to achieve a devastating psychological victory. Alexander's recklessness can be praised as genius, but it is also a hallmark of a future autocrat. If you find this content valuable, one click of your subscribe button will help Ancient Epic continue to delve into these complex historical questions. Part 3. Propaganda, deification, and internal fractures. The myth-making strategy. Alexander knew that to rule an empire, he needed more than victories, he needed supernatural legitimation. The demigod myth. He visited the oracle of Amun in Egypt and received confirmation that he was the son of Zeus Amun. This act not only convinced the Egyptians, it solidified his army's belief that they were following a divinely favored leader. Rule by respect. Instead of ravaging cities, he preserved Persian temples and administrative structures. He retained local officials, satraps, and adopted Persian dress himself. This was a great psychological strategy, transforming the conqueror into the legitimate successor. The curse of cultural fusion. However, this policy of cultural blending caused severe resentment among the old Macedonian generals. They had shed blood to conquer Persia, not to merge with it. Personal conflict. The dissatisfaction peaked when Alexander publicly adopted Persian customs. The killing of his close friend Clytus the Black in a drunken rage was the climax of this tension. An old soldier who dared to challenge Alexander's deification and Persianization policies. The pressure of expectation. Alexander's personal arrogance grew unchecked. He began to demand that his followers perform proskynesis, prostration, to him. A Persian ritual reserved only for gods. This act was flatly rejected by the Greeks and Macedonians, as it was a denial of their values of freedom. This proves that Alexander became too successful. He believed his own myth. Part 4. The semifinals and the refusal of the mortal man. The miscalculation at the Hyphasis River. After years of campaigning, the Macedonian army reached their physical and psychological limits. Upon reaching the Hyphasis River in India, Alexander wanted to push further east. He aspired to reach the ends of the world, the ocean. But his soldiers no longer saw glory. They saw never-ending monsoon rains, dense, unfamiliar jungles, and increasingly large Indian armies. The refusal. This was Alexander's greatest psychological defeat. The soldiers did not riot, they simply refused to march. Their message was, "We have gone too far." Alexander's reaction. He flew into a rage, locking himself in his tent, refusing to communicate, but ultimately, he had to yield. His personal authority, however extraordinary, could not overcome the collective exhaustion of human beings. The fatal return journey. The disappointment turned into cruelty on the return journey. Alexander led a portion of the army through the Gedrosian Desert, an act of self-destruction. Possibly intended as punishment for their refusal, tens of thousands died from starvation and thirst. Alexander proved two things. First, he was an unyielding genius. Second, he was a dangerous autocrat, willing to sacrifice his army for personal obstinance. Part 5. Death, Institution, and the Posthumous Curse. Death and imperfection. Alexander died suddenly in Babylon, at less than 33 years old. The cause, malaria, alcohol, or poison, remains a mystery, but the consequence is clear. His death was the annihilation of the empire. The fatal flaw, lack of institution. Alexander's empire was a personal kingdom. It existed based on loyalty to Alexander, fear of Alexander. He was so preoccupied with conquest that he failed to establish a system of laws, a succession mechanism, or an administrative apparatus that could sustain itself. He failed to prepare for his own mortality. The curse of the Diadochi. Immediately after his death, his closest generals, the Diadochi, tore the empire into pieces. They fought ruthlessly for 4 decades. The lesson from Rome. The later Roman Empire survived because it was built on a system of laws, a senate, and respect for institutions. Alexander's empire collapsed because it was built on one great individual. Final conclusion. The historical verdict. Was Alexander the Great a military genius? Absolutely, but his greatness was an inseparable blend of his father's technology, the Macedonian war machine, personal skill, speed, courage, and battle-reading ability. Historical context. The decline of Persia and Philip's preparation. Alexander was a storm that swept the world. He created an era, the Hellenistic Age, where Greek culture permeated the Middle East. But he failed the final test, creating a sustainable structure. He achieved divine greatness but failed to establish mortal stability. Alexander reached the edge of the world. Would he have been more successful if he had spent time building institutions instead of pursuing further conquest? Who among the Diadochi do you think was the most deserving to inherit his vision? Comment below, share your thoughts, and join this great historical debate with us. Don't forget to subscribe to the Ancient Epic channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss our deep analyses of humanity's greatest legacies. See you in the next epic.